Hello again. Happy St. Patty's Day. So, we're getting ready to continue to read Chapter 6 of Roscoe the Rascal at the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Chapter 6 Three Wishes. Come on, guys, get back on track, Roscoe thought, resting his gaze on Mandy and then on James. Sparks needs us. But both kids remained quiet, their backs to one another. Maybe I can snap them out of this Roscoe, thought, nudging his nose against James' hand. James glanced down at Roscoe, who let his tongue drop out and started to pant. The doggy smile usually worked. James gazed for a moment at the big, dopey grin on his dog's adorable face. He sighed heavily and turned to look at his sister. Oh man, I'm sorry, Mandy. It's not that big of a deal. I can always walk Roscoe in the parade next year. We probably wouldn't have gotten on TV anyway. Let's just get back to finding Sparks. Mandy took a deep breath and rubbed her eyes. It's okay. I'm sorry I ruined the day for you, James. I didn't mean to lose him. She reached out a hand to pet Roscoe's head. As they picked up their walk, Roscoe's soft ears were very soothing. When she was all worked up, the kids fell in step with each other again. With Roscoe in between, you will get rid of your bad luck. Somehow, Mandy, I'm sure you will. James sighed and cleared his throat. Okay, so it looks like we have about an hour and a half until we see Mom and Dad. Since they told us to meet them at noon, he said, let's try and find Sparks by then. Mandy sniffed. James, do you think there's any way I can talk to the leprechauns so I can ask them to lift this jinx they put on me? Mandy asked. Well, you can always try to capture one, like with a trap. Then he'd be forced to talk to you, said James. What? What are you talking about? Said Mandy. Hey, if you're just making a joke, it's not funny. I asked you to ask you a serious question. I'm not making a joke, James said. Don't you know the legend I thought one of your teachers? We've told your class why people make leprechauns trapped in the first place. Mandy's eyes widened. No, they haven't told us anything. What legend? I have no idea. When you're talking about seriously? Mrs. Fitzgerald told our class. Then again, she's Irish and knows all this school stuff, so maybe that's why she told us. I can't believe all this time you were complaining about your luck, that you didn't know this. James looked at Mandy, raising his eyebrows. Well, what is it? Go ahead, tell me, Mandy cried, picking up her step. Okay, so according to Irish folklore, leprechauns are tiny people who spend a lot of their time hard at work making shoes. They store all of the coins they earn in a pot of gold, hidden at the end of the rainbow. Mandy listened closely. Okay, that makes sense. Legend has it. James continued that if a leprechaun is never captured by a human, he has the magical powers to grant the person three wishes in exchange for his release. You're kidding me. I never heard that, Mandy said. That's why I thought you weren't thinking straight when you refused to make one of this year. Because every time you build a trap, you get the chance to make three wishes come true, said James. Oh my goodness! If I had known all of that, I definitely would have made a trap. I wonder why my teachers never told us, Mandy paused. Maybe they want us to make traps every year, just for the fun of it. She said, or maybe because it's like an art project and it's good for us. Or maybe your teachers never mentioned it because they didn't want you guys getting too worked up. James said some of the kids in your class would probably make crazy wishes, like for all of the desks to turn into candy or something. True, said Mandy. Good point, Annie. There's still time to make a trap before it's too late. I could make one at home tomorrow and leave it out overnight because Monday is St. Patrick's Day. Maybe I could trap a leprechaun and then he could grant me my wishes. He could take away this bad luck. Mandy said finally. That's the best idea I've heard all day, said James, especially if it makes you stop complaining about your luck. He laughed. Whew, I wish I had told you that story earlier. Me too, said Mandy. Me too. More thoughts began to swirl around in Mandy's head. But James, do you know if that legend is true? I mean, this can only work if everything you say is true. I don't know, Mandy. It is just a legend, but sometimes certain things about legends can be true, and you'll never know unless you try. Chapter 7, Nisas. As this new idea settled in, Mandy began to feel much better. Maybe I can fix my luck, she thought, soon as James, and Roscoe reached another section of the parade. Miniature old-fashioned yellow cars raced back and forth across the street, driven by older gentlemen in round black hats with gold tassels. The men seemed to be performing an elaborate comedy routine, nearly running into one another, zipping back and forth, tooting their horns and hollering funny but harmless insults at one another. The kids stopped to watch its Shriner's dad's favorite part of the parade. They are so funny, said Mandy. I wonder if Mom and Dad saw them yet. James laughed at the tiny cars zipping down the street. Probably not, since Mom and Dad are watching the parade from where it ends. Anyway, Sparks won't be out there, he said. He's smart enough to stay out of traffic. Come on, let's go. They followed the sidewalk again, dodging the crowd, and soon came upon another spectacle. 8 beautiful brown horses marched in 2 rows of 4. Police officers in uniform rode the horses. One of the riders carried an Irish flag on a flagpole, proudly displaying its colors of green, orange, and white. Another held tall an American flag. They call that the mounted unit, Mandy James told his sister proudly. They're the police unit that patrols on horseback. Mike told me that once, because his dad's a policeman. Neat, Mandy said, watching the 8 horse clip-clop down the street in perfect formation. And look, they're wearing socks. The tall horses were indeed dressed in matching green socks that covered their legs. From above the hoofs to below the knees, 8 times 4 is 32. Mandy thought that means there are 32 knee socks right there. That's a lot of knee socks. I didn't know you knew your eights already. That's really good for second grade, James said. Thanks, said Mandy. Let's keep moving, said James. Roscoe and Mandy dropped their gaze from the horses and followed. Ahead of the mount unit, such crowds filled the area that Roscoe and the kids could no longer see the action very well from the sidewalk. What's up there? Mandy shouted. I can't tell, she pointed at the street. It was getting very loud again. I can tell either, James said. Let's go see, but keep an eye out for Sparks. He's got to be out here somewhere. James pulled Roscoe's leash a little shorter so it wouldn't become entwined around any parade goer's legs. Chapter 8. Send in the Clowns. Squeezing among dozens of tightly crammed tourists and city residents on the sidewalk, James, Mandy, and Roscoe finally reached the edge of the street. Their throngs of children held out their hands, catching the candy and beads that were being flung to the crowd. Roscoe wagged his tail in excitement. It's the clowns, Mandy exclaimed. She raised herself on tiptoes to see. One clown rode a unicycle, balancing on the tiny seat, perched over its one big wheel. As he juggled bowling pins in the air, another raced by an oversized shoes riding a scooter. The round nose and red smile on his painted white face made small children stop and stare. Another clown rambled by in striped socks on tall stilts. Still others twirled hula hoops or strutted by in rainbow tutus. James scanned the street, hoping to spot the, the little pug somewhere. Anywhere he was starting to think they'd never find poor Sparks. He glanced at his watch. It was already 11 o'clock a.m., only an hour left until they had to meet their parents. And this was the most packed the sidewalk had been yet. Mandy, it's too crowded. We are never going to find Sparks here. We can't even see the 5 feet in front of us. We we should keep moving. Come on. This is because of my bad luck again. James, I know it, said Mandy. Oh, Mandy, said James. We already made a plan to try and fix your luck. Can't you worrying about it? Just then, a tired-looking clown in a fluffy orange wig stopped in front of them to tie some green balloons into a shape of a shamrock. The clown handed it to a very small boy standing next to Mandy, who ran off shouting with joy. Several more eager children raced over to claim the next balloon. Shamrocks! Me first, they cried, pushing and shoving to form a line. One girl reached into one of the 2 large buckets dangling from the clown's wrist. She shuffled around in the bucket for a treat as the clown twisted and tied another balloon. Now hold one there, youngsters, and said the clown, trying to disguise his irritation. Could you wait until I hand it to you, please? The tiny little girl held up the piece of candy, stuck out her tongue at the clown, and bolted toward the sidewalk. Mandy's eyes grew wide at the girl's bad behavior. Well, I never, said the clown, looking shocked. Kids these days. James, I have an idea, Mandy said. Quickly, she reached down and swiped up 3 strands of shiny green beads that had been thrown on the sidewalk. What are you doing, Mandy? Let's give these clowns a hand. We can stay on the street and get past this huge crowd on the sidewalk. If we do, after all, we were in the parade. Why not get back in it? You didn't want to get out after all, and it'll be faster, at least for now. Plus, it looks like they could see some help. James opened his mouth to protest, but before he could speak, Mandy stepped up to the frazzled clown. Hello, sir, she said, holding up the green beads. Can we give you a hand with this stuff? I don't see why not. I could use a few more hands, the clown said. Then glancing at Rosco, he added, I guess I could use a few more paws too. Have have it at it, kids and dog. He handed Mandy the bucket of beads and James the bucket of candy and grabbed another skinny balloon from his shirt pocket. I'll get back to amazing shamrocks and wiener dogs now. Gee whiz, you'd think these kids never saw a balloon animal before. James sighed, but a small smile rose from the corner of his mouth. All right, Mandy, I guess this could work. Soon, Mandy and James were tossing goodies to the kids on the sidewalk. As Roscoe trotted along, he wagged his tail, grinning, appreciating the attention he was getting from so many children. But he also made sure to sniff around for Sparks. Nope, still no sign of him. A clown's helper drove around in a golf cart, refilling James and Mandy's buckets. 3 times soon Roscoe and the kids had moved beyond the overcrowded area. Buckets empty again. Let's get back to looking for Sparks. Now, James called. Okay, I'm tired. Out anyway, said Mandy. The kids returned the buckets to their clown friend, who had finally caught up on making balloon shamrocks and now wore a genuine, relaxed grin. Thanks, kids, and thanks, Pot, he hollered. To be continued to Chapter 9.